Need to go around the table and identify everybody for the record so we know who's here. Mike?
Mike Gutierrez Assembly. Patrick Floyd Assembly.
Dick Trainee Assembly.
Phil Starr Assembly.
And Elby's here in the back. Jennifer?
Jennifer Johnston, Assembly.
Debbie, are you still with us? We'll turn the time over to you guys. This is the 2010 reorganization.
Yes, sir, and Greg Jones will be doing the presentation since he was responsible for basically making the organization as you're going to see it. The bottom line is it was undertaken as a result to try to streamline, become more efficient, and save money, bottom line. With that, I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be back here. Appreciate the opportunity. The reorganization really was an effort by multiple people. We started out early on with a conversation with the mayor that we felt that things needed to be reorganized. We needed to recreate the Public Works Department. We needed to make our more operations more efficient, and we were also looking for budget opportunities. Jennifer Allen, who's now with DHHS, was instrumental early on, and Ron and Jerry climbed on early and enthusiastically. So this is really a group effort on this, and actually a lot of other people are involved as well. I've got a quick PowerPoint presentation, and then we can open it to questions. So first is just why to reorganize it. You know, we're trying to create more efficient department structure. We're trying to provide a better span of control that effectively matches the organization to the processes, and create. When you look at the organization, you ought to be able to tell where to go to get the services that you need, and create some work efficiencies by putting groups that work together in the same department. We also, another key part of it was to create a professional organization at the management structure that's durable over time, so that you can have some consistency in both the interpretation of the codes and the way in which they deal with the municipality and with the constituents. We do that by reclassifying a number of positions, and I don't know how many of you guys have gone through, but they're going through a significant revision of positions working with ER, and that's actually been for the amount of work that's been done, it's been an amazingly smooth process. We also clearly defining the position accountability, responsibilities, and the links between positions. Establishing the correct span of control, again, matching that span of control to the processes, so that you don't get the confusion between departments, and which then reduces and eliminates conflicts between departments. We all have dealt with that both in private and public life. One of the first things we found, and I know the mayor heard this, I'm speaking for him, he's not here anymore.
He's not doing an interview.
Okay, these are one of the things that he gave me as one of my missions a year and a half, or almost a year and a half ago when I joined the municipality, was the permitting functions were confusing. The public wasn't quite sure what to do. PM&E was handling private development. Building safety was doing development, was inside development services, right-of-way permitting. All of this is, of course, associated with building a project within development service. Land use administration was in planning, and the land use interpretation and permitting was in development services. So the community was confused. Citizens were unsure about who to call about a given land use question, a given permitting question, about public works issues, because there wasn't a public works department. Municipal code frequently refers to public works, the public works department and the public works director, but for almost 15 years there hasn't been either, even though the codes were never changed to match that. And development approvals, they cross departmental lines. And they would cross departmental lines multiple times. They'd go back and forth through the continuum of the permitting process. And then the public just was confused as to who to call, whether it was zoning or public works, which didn't exist, or development services, and even within development services and within planning, who they would talk to. So here's the deal. Here's the plan. We eliminate me. first. The Office of Community Planning and Development.
Thanks for taking the bullet.
Well, it got down to where I had 3 direct reports, and it just didn't make sense to have a layer of government that it required support with 3 direct reports. Community Development Department consolidates planning, transportation planning, development services, and neighborhoods. And I'll get into each one of these. Public Works consolidates maintenance operations, project management, engineering, and traffic. So what you see there is community development does the processing of the growth of the community, the interface with the public, the interface with other agencies. Public Works becomes the steward of all public facilities. And you have one entity that's responsible for stewardship, maintenance, and management, and operation, building of public facilities. Community planning processes. And then real estate department is maintained as a full department as it is today. We've essentially just changed the name from the Heritage Land Bank to the real estate department, which is a recognition of really the function it had. The Heritage Land Bank was functioning as the real estate department throughout the municipality when the fire department needed help in selecting a school site, called the Heritage Land Bank. Well, it's a real estate function. And they would look outside their own inventory and help them find sites and help them negotiate deals. So we basically changed the name of the real estate department. Heritage Land Bank resides within that, and its charter doesn't change and its board doesn't change. But it's really more a reflection of the function of that department. So the org chart looks like this today for the 2 major departments. Again, real estate's not shown up there because there's really no change within that department. But community development is a deputy director of neighborhoods with that entire function there. Planning, the same, the entire function there. A deputy director of development, and that'll include building safety and land use permitting. And then the deputy director of administration, and I'll get into both. There's 2 of those, and I'll get into that in a minute. And then public works is engineering, which formerly was project management and engineering. It's just basically engineering now. And then maintenance and operations, and the traffic engineer. Now there are other changes in there. You'll note that in the traffic engineer, communications, which is in there today, is no longer there. We moved it into maintenance and operation. Communications job was to install radios, and for the most part, radios in our emergency vehicles, police cars, and other emergency vehicles. Maintenance and operations is charged with maintaining and managing those vehicles, so we moved that function into maintenance and operations. Private development has moved out of what is now engineering and over into development services, so that when a plat is approved, it gets approved by the planning department. It goes to development services for review of the subdivision agreement, for oversight of the construction of the improvements. And then when you go to build buildings on those lots, it stays within the same group instead of bouncing back and forth between community development and public works. Probably the most significant change, and the one that a lot of people may not have seen coming, was the combination of development services and planning. It really aligns the organization structure. This is the closest, the best example of aligning the organization structure with the approval process, both public and private. When we process a new school, a new fire station, they go from the planning department to the development services department, back and forth, and even into private development. By combining those into one, they're able to manage that review process all the way through. Public Works still maintains the criteria and the standards to which all of our public facilities have to be built. So they're the keeper of the standards and the stewards of those public facilities. Planning manages the processing and the permitting. We started migrating in the late 90s towards a one-stop permitting process. In fact, I think when George was here before. And then that got sidetracked, and I think this just continues that process to where we get to now it's all in one building and it's all in one department. It eliminates the cross-departmental disputes and negotiations. I've been involved in those both from within the city and as a developer, where you literally have to act as a mediator between departments to resolve issues. and it would allow us to respond to public needs quicker. This is a proven organizational structure. I'll suggest between now and Tuesday night, when you look at this, go to Google and just type in Planning and Building Department and see what you get. What you'll get is hundreds of hits on Google of municipal governments that have this set up. And they are everything. I got cities from small and large. I got, there's a sampling of them, but I got them from as little, you'll see cities as little as 6,000 and to millions of people that use exactly this structure. And what you'll see interspersed with those websites to those cities is articles and documents describing why they did it. You'll see a PDF here and there about why they've combined these departments. And it's a recent trend, but it's very broad. Then if you want to see more hits, just type in Building and Planning Department, type it in backwards, and you'll get a whole bunch of other hits. And it's the same basic trend. And you can see communities there from 35,000 to 1,000,007. I encountered this in great detail in San Antonio, which gave me the first idea. But the U.S. doesn't have a monopoly on this. Both Cape Town, South Africa, 33.5 million people does this. Sydney, Australia, 4.5 million people does exactly the same thing. They're set up with the Planning and Building Department, Building Safety in one group. It is proven to work throughout the world. Why move neighborhoods into community development? First of all, it started there. The primary function of neighborhoods originally was the community development block grants. And block grants can act as a very synergetic implementation technique for community plans. They haven't necessarily done that in the last 2 years. Most communities have used them that way. And it would be, I believe, behoove the municipality to coordinate much closer between planning and the community development block grants. The weatherization program isn't a great fit, frankly, anywhere in the municipality, and I think the mayor is currently looking at what to do with that. So we'll leave it where it is for the time being, and it's well run as where it sits, and you know, until that a decision is made to do anything with it, if anything. And why is transportation planning being moved out of traffic and into the new community development problem? Transportation planning is basic community infrastructure planning. It's helping plan the community. It goes right along with the land use planning and the community facilities planning that the planning department already does. It coordinates grants. It puts all of the planners working towards building the city in part of one group and part of one process. And then it leaves the traffic department to implement those plans, which is really the primary function. Public Works is a new structure. Public Works merges maintenance, operation, traffic, and project management. Communications, I actually jumped ahead of myself and discussed it. It moved communications out of traffic, which was there it was a legacy organization back from I believe, the city days, if I remember correctly, is where it actually first got stuck there. But clearly, they do other things. They manage the municipal microwave network. But a big chunk of what they do is manage the vehicles and the radios in the vehicles, and that's really a vehicle maintenance function that ought to be as part of maintenance and operation. Private development moves from Public Works to Development Services.
Jennifer, for you, sir. Jennifer?
Just with communications, does that include the emergency communications?
Yes, it does. And again, in maintenance and operation, it's a better fit. Traffic then becomes an implementation tool in department. Private development, for those of you who haven't been part of it, you know that private development really processes the construction of a new subdivision for the most part after it's approved and prepares it for acceptance for the municipality. Again, Public Works will continue to set the standards that they have to live by.
Jennifer has another question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
With the private development, and that will cover for any bonding, will they be responsible for the bonding?
Yes, yeah. That function will transfer to all together. So when you go get your plat approved, at the planning department, then you move right next door into development services, and then that project essentially would reside in development services all the way through permitting for buildings. the administrative units, each, both planning, both community development and public works, we created a new administrative unit. It centralizes all of the functions that go along, essentially the overhead functions. All of the requests for proposals, bid specs, in addition to that, payroll, accounting, payables, all of that is consolidated out of all of they were very broadly distributed in the 7 departments that I got when I first came in the door. They were done different ways. I would talk to Cheryl. Is Cheryl not here anymore? She would nod her head. Cheryl would get frustrated because some departments did it one way, some departments did it another way, some departments did it well, other departments didn't do it well. And it was very confusing for both accounting and finance as well as OMB. This consolidates it into 2 groups, and they'll manage all of those functions for the subgroups within them. It'll also give the directors and their top managers better information, better management information, more consolidated to manage budgets and people with. Budgets will be easier to prepare and monitor. And then payroll will be smoother. 2 organizations rather than 7 doing payroll. And then all the other financial matters, just the process that Lucinda was describing in the previous session will be much easier to manage that transition through 2 consolidated departments as opposed to 7. The financial savings, the reorganization involves the elimination of 8 positions. It creates 3 new ones, and then create reclassifications of several others. But at the bottom line, the net result is, at the outset, is a $621,000 operating savings on an annual basis, reoccurring. You can harvest that every year.
Ray, before you go to Paul, a quick question for you. Is this creating more executive positions? You're saying reclassification. Some employees' jobs, they're now shifted to executives? And how many?
No, it's not. In fact, overall, I think we dropped executive positions. We considered reclassifying some of the executives, but we left at the end of the day, we left the, let me go back, if I can get back to that slide. How do I do that? I'll go here, just hit escape. And then let me roll back up here. I can get it from here. Let's see, I can't see the top of the screen, unfortunately. There it is. I knew that little button was there somewhere. So
thanks.
There you go. So the whole deputy tier are, for the most part, with the exception of the administration group, are executives. But all of those department heads were already executives.
Can you use a copy of all these slides?
Oh yes, we have them all here for you.
Thank you.
Paul, my question was, you said, and I'll get back to the slides since I don't have it to refer to, but you said created 3 new positions, I think eliminated 8 positions. Without naming names or anything, can you give me some ideas of,
Well, for instance,
3 new positions, were they exec, were they non-rep, were they worker bees?
the director of traffic position was eliminated, and we made the traffic engineer the head of that department. We already had a traffic engineer by code who was already executive. So we had 2 executives in traffic. We got rid of 1.
Okay.
I have to go back. I haven't tried this up from memory now. You're asking hard questions.
3 new positions, where did they get developed?
The new positions, one is the director of community development. Okay, you can call that new, or you can call that my old position got moved there. But there was a planning director before. We've now moved Jerry into the community development. The planning director, we have to hire a new one, but that community development director didn't exist. Public works director is a new position. But
we had got rid of the traffic.
But we got rid of the traffic director, so it's not a net add.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what the other one was.
Because I'm getting input from people from all over these different departments that apparently the scuttle's out or the word's out or whatever, surveys you've done with employees and stuff, and a lot of folks are questioning the feel is that there's like a castle building thing going on, like there's going to be a lot of layers of chiefs and not enough.
Well, and I was sensitive to that, and that's why I wiped my layer off.
Well, yeah.
And so actually, in essence, they have a closer direct link to George, wherever he went, to the administration at this point by eliminating the office of.
But in addition to that, what we did was we were reclassifying many of the management positions that are non-executive positions, compensated appropriate for their responsibilities, control, authority, responsibilities. So they are implementing, making decisions at that level and not moving those decisions upwards. So there weren't any new executive positions created. There were changed executive positions created. The two director positions and then the planning director, the deputy director position was created. So
And in essence, what you're saying is we're pushing decisions down.
pushing decisions down.
In the organization.
And did you create new non-rep positions to
Yes.
account for that?
Yes, we did.
How many?
Well, the admin groups are new positions. Some of the other positions that are ranges that are 17s were moved to 18s to pay them appropriately for their responsibilities. So it just wasn't a one-sided approach to make, an executive process here. If Ron and I together, with the years' experience that we had, this is somewhat of an ideal of what we thought it should be. And Greg let us run with that. So we wanted the efficiencies there, the delivery of the services to the public, and good customer service. And we have tried throughout the whole reorg to make those positions the right pay and the right responsibilities.
We had a number of places where
Can you increase the volume because people are in the side are having trouble hearing that?
Okay.
Appreciate it. Elby's got a question, then on to Jennifer. Elby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions. And the first one is, are there any positions that are going to be downgraded?
Yes, there are positions downgraded.
How many?
There were positions,
Because what I
we have a memo that, the memo, the document that's in the assembly will exactly state that. I don't have that.
how many positions are downgraded, and it'll show us from what grade to what grade? Because that's what
Yeah,
I wanted to know.
some were downgraded, some were upgraded, but the downgrades were because we didn't need that level of
Understood.
that level, so we do have that
But
list,
I
and we have
don't see it.
that.
And then my second question is, on the three administration positions, TBDs, do you plan to use current staff, like maybe promoted folks into those positions? Or is it a plan right now to hire for new hires, or you don't know?
Well, the two TBDs.
Three.
That we have, those are executive positions.
Right.
And those are mayoral appointments. The other one is a mayoral appointment as well. So it's finding the most qualified person to fit into those positions. We're working right now to look for people to fill those positions.
Within
The
the
answer-
departments?
The answer is you look within and without.
We'll look within and without. We have no one in mind at this point, and that's.
Yeah, but that, yeah, and I appreciate that, but that really wasn't my question, whether you had somebody in mind. My question is there going to be opportunity? I understand that they're executive mayor appointments, but my question is, will there be opportunity, possibly, and maybe I should be asking the mayor this, for promotions within the departments to executive level? But I probably think that some employees probably won't want to be
Well, that's
executives.
been our experience,
Yeah.
frankly. There are several people we would love to have take some of those positions who will not.
Right.
They've already turned us down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Just how to make this work, I was in Title 21 committee meeting yesterday, favorite Thursday activity. And there's a lot of Title 21 rewrite, which says that it will be up to the director of planning as far as conditional use, blah, blah, blah. Well, this all be tightened up within code for situations like that. And then the other thing I was thinking came up is 1% for art. Currently,
1% per hour goes to engineering.
okay,
It stays right in with the projects.
as it was in code, it's supposed to report to the
Right. And so, and my assumption is, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we get a planning director, that position will still have the same Title 21 duties. Right now, Jerry is acting.
That deputy director will have all the responsibilities that the current planning director has, but reports to the overall director.
Greg, did you have any more slides you want to finish up before we?
I think the only one was just the one of the let's see if we can make sure we're clear. The one of the organization as it finalized, it ends up is let's see. One more, I think. Yeah, this one, there. That's the way the organization of the city looks after the reorg. And the main difference is, under the municipal manager, it used to have the Office of Community Development and Planning and then 7 departments underneath it. Now it just has 3: community developments, public works, and real estate.
Thanks very much. I know, Harry, do you have a question? Mr. Starr? Bill?
I have 3, and some are kind of scattered all over. Our formal action next Tuesday night, you're asking us to basically reword the city charter that specifies the various classifications of departments, because, the executive branch and who you hire and where you manage them is the executive branch responsibility. So I'll go back in. We have formal action on Tuesday. Have you looked at it yet, Patrick? What are we actually being asked to do?
We're actually being asked to approve Administrative Ordinance 2010-64, which has specific changes to the executive branch organization references.
I read it, but what my challenge is that aside from your department kind of going away, I don't see us really messing with the overall structure of government that much. And so what's all the fuss about? Obviously, we got some budget challenges and all that, but what's, besides executive decisions across the board, why does the Assembly need to be involved? No, Elby, you can answer if you like. It's a code change on what, though, are we changing?
It's on this exact, all it does is change this.
This is actually the subject of the ordinance. It approves this, the ordinance requires you to approve this org chart.
I got you.
That's all.
So everything else is just information on how we got here.
That's right. The reshuffling the org chart, though, isn't that significant?
The org chart of the departments that I showed you earlier doesn't require a code change.
Right. I don't believe this slide is. I don't believe this slide is in our packet for Tuesday's discussion. Is it?
It's not.
It's in the.
Can you be sure we get that?
Yeah.
Because I have questions. If all we're doing is eliminating your positions and libraries and all the other stuff that kind of went into that or go into that.
Yeah, there it is. It's in the packet.
Is it in there? Yeah. Or this one? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's really the subject of the ordinance, is to create that org chart.
So next question, not related to the first necessarily, but when you went through the reorganizational discussions with the leaders, did operational efficiencies and specifically outsourcing opportunities or things the city shouldn't be doing or weren't determined to be very good at, did those jump out at you, and did you implement any of them?
We talked about quite a bit of that. This organization wasn't intended to address those, but I believe that this organization, once in place, allows the city to address them better. We know that there are opportunities to do that, and so my charge here was not to go find ways to outsource functions. We talked a great deal and debated among ourselves the idea of outsourcing certain parts of the building safety operation, certain parts of the planning operation. But this organization doesn't try to accomplish that, but I believe it does set it up to make it easier to accomplish by consolidating those functions. Right now, for instance, the planning function runs across departments, and now it doesn't so much. So I think it gives a better platform to look at those.
Well, my leading question was, building safety and the Fund 181 group is still sort of underwater, if you want to use that term. So a $621,000 savings across departments isn't going to plug that hole from a solution perspective yet. So, what I need to make sure is we can come forward with a balanced budget, not to mention how do we fix the hole that we have, but this doesn't do it for me in this solution entirely on how are we going to handle building safety. And I still need to have that discussion somewhere.
I agree.
Where do we have it?
I agree that discussion needs to be had. My assumption is, again, this is something that maybe George should answer, but it's probably part of the budget process.
And I don't know. I mean, if the executive branch can't bring us solutions that plug that hole, I can't create revenue necessarily in that stream. So I'm speaking out loud here, but it doesn't tell me that we fixed that problem. So I'm kind of alluding to the body here that we still have those challenges.
Talking about Fund 181?
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, well, you know what happened.
Well, I got the history. We had a committee and some of that, but
Okay, so you know what happened to that fund. I just don't think under this current administration that's going to happen.
I'm looking at way forward though, George. We don't have a day's summary of work in progress over there. It isn't paying the bills today, is it? I mean, we're spending more in service dollars and expense of department than we're actually generating.
I don't know that that's the case. I think right now in that department, you're carrying your own, you're just not able to build up the fund.
Well, we'll have that conversation further.
We're coming up with a plan that we'll be presenting to you on how to fix that, but we're just not.
Thank you,
there.
George.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Bill, anything else on this?
One more, as it relates to specific duties. In some of the code language, it speaks to the building, I've been salted for it, but Jerry, you have the building official title now, where in terms of exemptions or in ultimate authority, you speak to the building official. In your other org chart where you have those other deputies, are any of those going to be building officials that can weigh in on the final matter? Do we have more than one hat being worn?
There are many people within the organization that have the building official function, but the ultimate decision will be from the director. The ultimate building official.
Because Title 21 leaves a lot of discretionary decisions up to that now. Who is that still? Is that you?
The building official would be Jerry under this organization. Reporting directly to Jerry would be the deputy director of
Right.
building safety or development services, I mean. And that would obviously be the first arbiter right there.
And
that's an executive.
And an engineer.
And
But
an engineer.
and Mr. Coffey's here, just so the verbiage, when it's decided by the building official, we can determine who that is, for an efficiency perspective. Because if Title 21 is going to redelegate, take things away from planning and zoning and these others, that we get the verbiage clear on who actually is the signer of that. Why does it need to be all the way up at the level if all you're looking for is a variance from the deputy director?
Well, in fact, if you look at the codes, the building codes, each of the managers and inspectors are considered officially under the code building officials. So it's really a question of where there are certain decisions that a low-level building official can make and certain decisions at the higher level. And so it's graduated by type of decision.
I would just like
They
to
all
clear
have final say at a certain level.
in the new code. It's not necessarily clear now. That's all. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, anything else?
That covers what I brought.
Okay. Questions from assembly members? Harriet? Elvie?
No, thank you.
Mike?
No, sir.
Pat?
Mr. Chairman, just looking at the no attached to the ordinance, it was not clear to me where we're adding, where we're subtracting in terms of getting to the 8 positions we eliminated 3.
We have that document, and we'll get you a copy.
You get to that by Tuesday, I want to be able to see it.
This is the memo.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good to see. It's all, Mr. Chairman.
I guess, I'll go on Mr. Starr's comment of saying that the executive branch has the authority to at least reorganize or at least attempt to reorganize, and I recognize it's up to everybody to approve or disapprove of the actual chart as it comes in and develops it. But frankly, I'm really concerned about, and I think you said it, Mr. Jones, well put. My concern is where are the service deliveries to the communities and citizens? I could care less if we have 15 executives or 5. Well, I want the Indians that are out there pushing the paperwork through, getting the approvals met, making sure the inspections are done, and whatever bills and fees are paid. And I'm hopeful that this reorganization, as you guys have listed it, is getting us to that end. I'm hoping that it kind of eliminates some bottlenecks, and that's what I'm looking for. As to the concerns of Fund 181, and I know I'm on the budget committee with you, finance committee, Bill, we are waiting to find out what the plan is to get to that point. But realistically, I'm hearing from within the department, and I think Lieutenant Mahoney said it earlier, whenever time you change, there's always a certain natural inherent thing about people that don't want to get out of their comfort zone. And so maybe it doesn't make sense on their level. And I'm hoping you're hearing that, because some of your best assets and some of your people that have the best ideas are in the trenches, having been in the trenches, working at just about every level, including exec. I can tell you that there was one exec position at the police department I knew that really didn't need to be there, and that was the one I last held. It's being currently held by a non-represented person as a lieutenant. And so, frankly, again, who you appoint in a position of exec or at what level, that's within the purview of the administration. I get that. I don't see adding new executive staff positions or transferring or even creating, pushing people from exec down to non-rep to maybe protect the job, whatever. I don't know what they want to do, but bottom line is that, we got enough chiefs, we need to get the Indians out there working and make sure the process goes. That's my opinion.
There are no other questions. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you being here today.